Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Motorsport Days. Now, what a day we had yesterday! It was a feast of motorsport action, and here I am with Ben Wibley again. Ben, what a cracking day it was yesterday, wasn't it? But hey, we've got a lot more going on today, haven't we? Tell us more.
Yeah, well, it was it was an absolutely thrilling day yesterday. Again, it's a shame that we're not at Silverstone, but it was a thoroughly enjoyable day. I learned a lot, if I'm honest, from quite a lot of the sessions, which is good. We've got even more upcoming today. So pretty excited. I mean, we've still got the competition going to be announced at the end of the day with HRX, and Michael Crease, the British touring car driver, is going to pick a winner of the race suit. We've got Castle Coombe going to have a chat with the chaps. They're going to say they've also got a competition going on as well. You can win a gift box from them, which is pretty good, especially in time for Christmas. We've got a couple of great drivers and a bit of a highlights for us to catch up on recent years. So yeah, all very exciting stuff.
Fantastic. I just flicked up the agenda for the day as well. So first up, Ben, I'm excited about this one. Who have we got coming up now?
Yep. So we've got Abbie Eaton coming up next, which I'm really looking forward to interviewing her because, as most will know, she's taken part in the Grand Tour, got the W Series, was supposed to be this year, but it's coming up next year. So, looking forward to that one now.
Fantastic. Right, let's hit play. Sit back, everybody, relax and enjoy Motorsport Days. It's Saturday, the 21st of November. Here we go.
So we now move on to our next session, and I'm delighted to welcome Abbie Eaton. Abbie, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Okay, well, let's jump straight in with the Grand Tour. I wanted to ask kind of how that all came about.
So it was kind of a bit out of the blue, really. Just an email arrived on my laptop and basically said, "Do you want to come down to the track? Drive some cars, meet the team, see how you get on with the production crew and stuff like that." But they wouldn't actually tell me why, what it was for. Obviously driving around a track setting lap times, in my head, I've only got one job role that I think it could be, but they kept it all, really hush hush, and it was all, it might just be for a feature next season or something like that. I didn't have any racing at that time, so I just kind of thought, well, I'm going to go out and it be super fast, or I'm going to end up in a tree somewhere because I had nothing to lose. So I just gave it my all, and ended up being pretty quick in all the cars they had, and did a little bit on screen as well, so they knew that I was comfortable with doing that. And then they asked me if I wanted to do the role of the driver.
Fantastic.
Use that. Yeah.
Good stuff. So what is it like working with Jeremy and the boys?
It's pretty relaxed, to be honest. They're so professional working together. They've obviously worked with each other for years and years now. So just a lot of laughs. Especially the episode where Jeremy and I went out to Sweden and drove on the ice track together. You can't really call that a job, really. The week that we were out there, just sliding a Porsche and a Lamborghini around on some ice was pretty fun. But yeah, I've never had any issues with them. There's always the questions where people are like, what are they really like? Well, kind of what you see is what you get, really.
Really? Oh, well, that's always good to know. I guess for yourself, it hasn't been an overnight success, has it? You've put a lot of hard work in over the years in order to get where you are. And obviously people don't always see that side of it. But would you talk us through how everything all started and what kind of brought you into motorsport?
Yeah, so as kind of most people's story, or a lot of people's story with motorsport, it starts with a family member. So my dad actually has raced ever since he was like 16 years old. So he started on bikes and then moved into supercarts and then eventually into cars. I was kind of born when he was in the car. In fact, it wasn't. I was born when he was in his last year of supercarts, and he had a big crash. He ended up rolling, I think, at Pembrey, and I was about 2 months old. And that's what made him move into cars, because he's like, if you've seen supercarts now, they're so fast, it's crazy, and you're so vulnerable in them. So that's what made him think, actually, you know, I've got a little kid now, I need to kind of move to something with a roll cage, etc., etc. So yeah, he moved into cars, and then I kind of grew up really at the race circuits of the UK, just following him around, and yeah, just creating havoc in the paddock, really. You know, that was, well, this will be the end of my 18th year involved in motorsport, so over half my life, which is a bit scary.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, again, a lot of people may or may not know, but you had quite a dramatic Super Cup race back in Donington back in 2014.
Yeah.
Kind of talk us through that, because it looked at one stage pretty much championship was all over.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from it, Ben. I'm still PTSD. Yeah, so it was the MX5 Super Cup, and kind of a little bit of context. So even though I've raced for 18 years, over those 18 years, I've only ever done 5 full seasons of racing. And the MX5 Super Cup, it was my first full season of racing that we were properly committing to in, you know, years and years. So there was a lot of kind of hard work and a lot of stress and pressure to try and make sure that we were consistent in finishing the points, you know, that there was no mechanical failures and all that kind of stuff. And there was lots of ups and downs through the season, which is the norm, you know, when you're in a championship title. There was probably, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times through the year where I was like, I'm definitely not going to win it. And then I'd somehow claw it back. And into the last race at Donington, I had a 17-point lead. So really all I needed to do was just finish the 2 races, and it would be, you know, plain sailing.
Yeah.
Didn't have any mechanical issues through the entire year, and then in the first race of the race weekend, the engine gave up, and I ended up, you know, not finishing the engine well, I kept going until the engine was properly dead, because I had nothing to lose, you know. I just had to keep going and hope that it would make it through. So I didn't finish that race, which meant I had to pick points up for my next worst finish, which was 6th, and effectively try and find an engine from somewhere. Family run team, so we haven't got, you know, spares all lined up or anything. So my dad rang the scrapyard down the road and was like, have you got any smashed up MX5s that still run? And they had one, so had that shipped over to Donington Park. And then my dad and my uncle, my mechanic, spent the entire night swapping the engines over. Had no idea what this engine was going to be like, you know, whether it would even run or even last the entire race. And so it was a bit, I basically accepted in my head that it was very, very unlikely that I was going to win the championship at that point. So I remember saying to Dad before I went out for that second race, I was like, look, like we've stressed throughout this entire year trying to make sure that everything is as it should be. I've forgotten to enjoy the driving aspect of things, you know, because you end up only enjoying it or realizing that you've enjoyed it at the end when you look back. So I was like, I'm just going to go and enjoy this race because I'm starting last, so let's see what happens. And went out, and the engine was a little bit down on power, you know, down the straights. It wasn't particularly filling me with confidence, and I was just like, please don't break, keep going. Ended up getting up to kind of 6th place, which was just, I think, a couple of places behind the guy that was second in the championship. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done it. You know, if I finish here, then this is going to give me the title. So at that point, they were all dicing up at the front, and I was like, I'm not getting involved. I was like, I'm just going to just watch it all happen and chill back here. And then with that, a fellow competitor hit me off the track. He just absolutely nailed me at turn 1 at Redgate and spun me round, and car wouldn't restart, and car was damaged. And, you know, my mind was like, what an emotional roller coaster. All this kind of, I'm going to win it, I'm going to win it. And then all this emotion came out of me, and I was screaming, I was punching the wheel, I was punching the transmission tunnel. Like, my hands were black from punching things. And came in the pits, and I remember my uncle saying to me, look, like, it's not over yet. You've still got 1 point in the bag because you've just done the fastest lap in that race. So if basically the guy that was second needed to win it, and the guy that was winning on the track at the time was like way gone in the distance. But when you're in that moment, I'm like, I've lost it, you know. It's not going in my head at all. And then once the race had finished, the guy came up to me after and was like, yeah, you won it, you know, you've won it by that 1 point. for getting the fastest lap. So it was probably the worst and the best weekend I've ever had in my entire life. And if someone said to me, knowing not what I know now, would I go back and do it again? The answer would probably be no. It's
No.
once in a lifetime thing that
I can imagine. Well, sorry to open that wound up again, but it is an amazing story, I think, for people to kind of understand. So talking about going from 4 wheels, you've turned to 2 wheels quite recently. Then doing a track day on a bike. What's kind of turned that way?
Again, when I was young, I actually wanted to have a go on bikes to start off with, because I was always around the paddock on my BMX or my mountain bike doing tricks and jumps and stuff like that. So I was really, really at home on a bike. But my dad, having raced them himself, again, knows how kind of dangerous and how vulnerable you are on them. So it was like, look, if you're going to do any racing, it's going to be 4 wheels. And even now, you know, he's not very comfortable with me going on a bike, but it's just something that I've always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. You know, it's got an engine on it and you can ride it or drive it fast. Why wouldn't I want to give it a go? So I've been really lucky to have the opportunity by Harley Davidson to basically get me my bike license for the road. So did that kind of just before lockdown, and then managed to do my test just after lockdown. And then obviously with a bike license, people were like, what, really? You're on 2 wheels? And Silverstone were like, right, well, in that case, do you want to come and do a track day on one of our Yamaha R1Ms? And I'm like, wow, like I've just passed my test 2 months ago. Like that's a bit of a step up. It's like passing my test in like a Renault Clio and then jumping straight into a McLaren Senna, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, my advice to people that may be a little bit new to driving on the road or nervous of driving on the road is do a car track day. So my mind is, well, you know, a bit nervous, a bit new on a bike. So I'll do a track day and learn the limits. And I had an absolutely wicked time. It's a completely different feeling you have on a bike, and like the acceleration is just insane. And I actually had a ride around the track as well with my instructor, which, yeah, the speeds we ended up at was crazy. And obviously as a pillion, you're sat like above the rider. Yeah. And when the wind grabs your helmet and stuff, it's pretty brutal. I have a lot of respect for the riders out there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, talking about insane speed, you've gone from Yorkshire to Saudi Arabia going to test the I-Pace. That's obviously quite EV. We're seeing more and more come into motorsport and be more acceptable.
Yeah.
Tell us about that car. I mean, that's obviously quite put your foot down and it's gone, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think people's initial response to any electric vehicle is that instant torque you get from the electric motors, and the Jaguar I-Pace was much the same. And I think the thing with that you have to kind of adapt your driving to is that all the weight is kind of, obviously because it's pretty heavy with the batteries and they're all underneath you. So and it's quite a big car as well, so it's kind of quite a high kind of center of gravity, but actually all the weight is still quite low. And the main thing you've got to try and do is just nail the power as early as you can. With it being a 4-wheel drive system, again, you've got that decent power application at the corner. But because they're quite big and heavy, they don't particularly like to go around them very well. So there was a bit of technique involved in trying to kind of tame it, if you like. And the first time I jumped in it at Saudi Arabia, we did really well. I think my second session out, I was P2 with Alice Powell. So adapted to it pretty quickly. And, you know, that's just another opportunity I've been given by Jaguar. So, just try and say yes to all the opportunities that I get and have fun while I do it.
Definitely. Well, talking about the next opportunity, it's a shame that W Series got cancelled this year for obvious reasons. Again, that seems to be a regular story. But next year it's looking like being on the F1 calendar for a few races, and that's pretty exciting next opportunity.
Yeah, it's I know they were working towards trying to get more Formula One race or more support races, because they did confirm Texas and Mexico last year and again this year. But to get 8 races on the F1 calendar is fantastic, and I think it's only going to do positive things for given a platform for W Series and for females in motorsport as well. So, big tick from Formula One and for W Series on making that kind of relationship happen. And, for myself, having COVID, I'll see how I get on next year, but I think I'm hoping that it's worked in my favour, because it's given me a full year to kind of get even more physically prepared, get my head into the mindset a little bit more, and hopefully arrange some testing as well, because that's going to be my biggest downfall. Is I've never driven a single seater in my entire life, so it is a completely different kettle of fish driving things with slicks and wings, and you've got to reprogram your brain just to get used to how much grip there is, and it's not something that can happen overnight. So I'm kind of viewing it as a bit of a 2-year goal. Next year the main aim is to get through to the following year, use next year as a complete learning year, hopefully not make too much of a fool of myself in front of an F1 audience, and then try and go for the championship in year 2. But no pressure, Abbie, just an F1 audience to learn in front of.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, judging by everything else that we've heard, I don't doubt that that won't be the case. And it sounds like you've certainly got yourself switched on and know what you want to achieve in order to try and bring it through. But the championship did originally, when it first started, had quite a bit of a bad press, but it seems to have proven a lot of people wrong. But tell us more about what you've been involved in and how the steps work.
Yeah, so initially on the championship announcement, it was kind of 50-50, I think, really, but it was very, very strong opposing views. And I myself, was fairly negative about it when it first came out, just purely because, there's been female-based, female-only championships previously that have just been a massive gimmick and, PR stunt that actually it just is all for the wrong reasons. And, I was worried that this one could be the same again. It sounded too good to be true with, free to enter and a massive prize fund at the end of it. I'm thinking, what's the catch here? There's definitely, something suspicious going on. And I'd actually worked pretty hard to secure the V8 Supercar drive in Australia the previous kind of couple of years. So, to me, if it was a GT drive, let's say if W Series was a GT championship, 100% I would have said yes to it. But, I've been tin top, sports cars, endurance, GTs and single seaters, it's that way. So to me, it just wasn't worth the risk. And, I'm kicking myself now, I wish I'd done that first year, because, the whole thing is just fantastic. And, it's not done half-heartedly. The amount of money that's been invested into it is huge. The infrastructure, the team, the management team, the mechanics, the physios, absolutely everything is covered. And I think that's really important to provide that for female drivers, young female drivers as well, to kind of learn and have these opportunities, because the ultimate aim of W Series is to increase female participation in motorsport. Now you can say they've done that already, because out of the grid of 20 last year, there was probably, without W Series, maybe 3 or 4 of the drivers would actually be racing. So immediately they've done that and they've ticked that. And the fact that F1 have them on the grid for next year just shows that people are positive and buying into this. So in terms of kind of how to enter and how to get involved, there's a bit of an application process. So thankfully they didn't hate on me too much after the negative press I gave them at the start. They welcomed me in that second year. I was half expecting my application to get thrown back in my face, but I put my hands up and apologised. So yeah, you basically have to apply, give your previous race experience, what you think you bring to the table and your previous results. And then if you get through that stage, you go to an assessment. Now, because there was like 5 British drivers in it already, they basically did a pre-assessment for British drivers before the main assessment. So I actually had to go to Dunsfold, which is where the W Series workshop is. And there was a bit of a simulator race weekend held. So I think there was maybe 14 of us, maybe a bit less, that we basically had 2 simulated race weekends. So a couple of free practice sessions, a quali and a race. And then there was only 2 of us that got through from that to the main assessment in Spain. Main assessment in Spain was actually getting to drive the cars properly. So 3 days at Almeria race circuit, and yeah, they're looking at everything, you know, how fast you are on track, how you interact with your engineer, you know, how you carry yourself, how you give interviews, all that kind of stuff. You know, they're looking for the full package really that they want to kind of showcase to the world. And yeah, thankfully I made the 6 drivers that got through to the grid for what would have been this year, but moving on to next year.
Oh, well, fingers crossed for next year. But I guess what kind does the future hold after that? Have you got any other plans or aspirations in place?
Well, I'm hoping to win the Euro Millions, and then I can race whatever I want. Yeah, I mean, you know, ultimate goal is to win W Series at some point, and you know, I'd love to go back into you know, tin top sprint racing. I grew up watching my dad in Eurocar, which was, you know, 20-minute sprint racing, door to door, you know, a bit of trading paint and that kind of stuff. So, you know, something along those lines would be where I'd want to be. In terms of a career, you know, definitely GTs looks fantastic, and I'd love to maybe go out to America and race out there in one of the GT championships. So yeah, it's still, you know, a bit of work to do. Got to get the next couple of years out of the way, and then we can see where we're at after that. Maybe I'll surprise myself, and maybe I'll stick with single seaters, but I'm not sure.
Well, we'll see. Well, I look forward to certainly watching that next year. I just have 3 last questions. They're normally questions I ask at the end of an interview. So the 3 just quite quick ones. The first one is, what was the last thing you watched on TV?
Queen's Gambit.
Nice.
So it's on Netflix. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's about a girl that is really good at chess, and it's her like story. It sounds boring, but it's quite cool.
No, I watched it. It's actually quite good. I've just finished it ourselves. What's your favourite song?
Queen, We Are the Champions, for obvious reasons. That was played many, many, many times after Donington Park race.
I can imagine. Well, a last one. I think you've probably already answered this one. If at the end of this interview you won £10 million on the lottery, what would you do?
I'd probably do the sensible stuff, like pay off people's mortgages in my family. Then I'd buy a house, and then I would go on holiday and sit and think about where I'm going to spend my money, which is probably some racing somewhere. But with 10 million, I'd have to have a real think about it, because there'd be so many different things I could do. There's
a lot of choices. See how long you can make it last, I suppose.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Some rallycross. I'd do some rallycross.
Nice, some good decisions. All right, well, look, really appreciate your time. Thank you for being part of today. We wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you on track next year.
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Performance Box Touch is not only a super accurate performance meter, it can also be used as a sophisticated predictive lap timer, using GPS rather than distance to allow you to accurately compare how your current lap time compares with your fastest, corner by corner. Quick and easy to install, it automatically identifies the circuit you are driving on and loads the relevant track maps from our extensive database. Using a performance box for the first time, VW Classic Championship racer Dan Rose talks us through how he benefited from the system's bright delta speed LEDs on track.
Yeah, a few times you'd go in and basically it would come up green, so you thought, yeah, and then mid-bend it was really sort of pushing on a bit, and you'd come out and you was red, so you had to get the balance right of going in and getting the green going in and the green coming out, so you knew that was the best way through there.
Using a lap timer mode, Dan was able to monitor how modifications to his car affected his performance on track.
Like changing the roll bars, we could see that we're a couple of seconds slower straight away and that certain areas it's not working. And then when you flick back, it's working and it shows up on the times and also in your sectors. So the predictive lap times really work.
Given a quick lesson on the Circuit Tools data analysis software to pinpoint exactly where time is being lost and then going through his data from the day, Dan said,
Looking back at the data now, we're a bit further on in the day. We can see that certain lines worked, certain lines didn't. Carrying a bit more speed into the first bend seems to have given us a bit more pace. And also we can look at different sectors where in a couple of laps I was quicker, but actually putting all those sectors together so that they work, which we've looked at, and then we'll go back out and have another go. But so far we've gained 2 or 3 seconds throughout the day, which has really worked well with us. So when we come back racing we should be up there.
Hi, Chris Dawes here. I've stepped away from the commentary box for a change and I'm in front of the camera because this time I'm talking about my business, Open Doors Training. Founded by myself as a project of passion because I felt so lucky that I get paid to do the things I do now. Commentating, hosting awards, voiceover artist, TV, radio, podcasts, live shows, you name it, all of those things are an absolute privilege. Especially when I came from someone who was paralysed by fear when I had to present at university and when I first went into business after graduating. But thankfully, I got accused of making IT entertaining when I was in my sales and marketing role. I know, not that easy, but I'm proud of that one. And that's what really was the trigger, enabled me to carry on with all the different things I do now. I want to now help others open doors that they may not yet know exist. And you never will know exist unless you put yourself in a position where you can be heard. Whether that's in business, in public sector, in sport, all of it is the same. If you're silent, no one will know you exist and how good you are at things. You've got to put yourself in a position where you open those doors, at least so that you can knock on the doors and they know you are there. So that is what we do here at Open Doors Training. It's not about creating blueprints of presenters or media darlings or whatever it may be. It's about unlocking you. Instead of being the contained version of you, we want to get 110% of you. You probably exaggerate it by 10%. I'm sure I'm not like this when I'm at home on the sofa. The wife would kill me. But it is about still being you. And that is what we work on within all of our training. So come on over, opendoorstraining.co.uk. Let's have a conversation to see how we may be able to assist you going into hopefully a better year in 2021.
So my name's Tom Ingram. I'm competing in the British Touring Car Championship with Team Toyota GB. So the BTCC is one of the toughest championships around. There's so many quick drivers. So to get the edge, you've got to be looking for any little millisecond of improvement. So whether that be from training hard at the gym or having the best kit around, you've got to find the edge any way possible. So the thing I love about the Walero products the most is the temperature regulation. And not only does it regulate my temperature and keep me cool when it's really hot, but when we're testing in the middle of winter, it keeps me warm as well. The feel of these is amazing. They're so soft, you could wear this to bed and be more than happy. So the Walero Under has really helped my performance and reduce the effects of the heat on my body and the heat fatigue that I'm finding. That's where I'm finding a big improvement. So over the course of it doesn't matter if I'm testing, it doesn't matter if I'm racing, I'm just not feeling quite as fatigued as I would have been without it.
Right, hello everybody and welcome back to Motorsport Days. I'm Ian Waterhouse from My Supercar and Ben. Right, what have we got coming up next?
Well, we've actually got Susie Hine from Roaming Expert Racing. So most of you might be familiar with them. They've got significant savings on mobile packages, which a lot of you might not realise that you can actually get a cheaper package with them than you can do going through somebody like Vodafone, for example. But they also have the Tag Wi-Fi box, which for a lot of racing teams, going across Europe, it's a fantastic product which helps keep you connected. It's for hospitality and also people on the pit wall as well. So this is an interview I did with Susie earlier in the year, but it had such a lot of great content, so we thought we'd roll with it again. So please enjoy.
Excellent. Let's hit play and let's enjoy it.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Motorsport Days 10 questions in 10 minutes. Today I'm joined by Susie Hine from Roaming Expert. How are you doing, Susie?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Not bad at all. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Still, I think the same for everybody. Struggling to get through, but these chats are pretty good. And I wanted to kind of take this opportunity to find out a bit more about you and also Roaming Expert. So, I guess my first question is: you've come from the luxurious world of yachting. Straight into motorsport. So how do the two industries compare?
Yeah, I mean, actually, both industries are really quite similar. That's one of the reasons we've sort of expanded to work within this sector a bit more.
Yeah.
You've very much got the same concept of the builders, the drivers, crew, and then, of course, as we all know, the working supply chain, which keeps everything afloat, really. And on top of that, it follows a really similar networking structure. So like a boat show, you'd actually have a track day. So it's been a really quite a simple transition. And as we sort of realized that the yachts need data connectivity seasonally, that's sort of where our ideas came from to obviously also support the race teams as well. So it's been really well received.
Good stuff. Okay, so how did Roaming Expert then get into motorsport?
Yeah, good question. Well, it's been really organic actually. So I think we sort of we worked with Autosport United Autosport for about 7 or 8 years on their mobile phone connections. So we sort of, obviously from that, realised there was a lot of similarity between the two industries. So we had a conversation with them and addressed that the mobile phone side has actually been quite a big issue for them, especially when the race teams, travel globally. They can really rack up and incur pretty hefty roaming charges. So we sort of put our heads together, took on board their comments, and thought about what other solutions can we possibly offer for the industry. The main thing we obviously wanted to do before that was prove ourselves from a customer service perspective and reliability point of view. And then we wanted to expand into new areas. So this was when we got speaking to them, and we realized that, during the races, they had real issues with patchy Wi-Fi connectivity, and also they were being really, really overcharged by the circuits. So we got thinking, and that's when sort of our brainchild came out as the Tag Wi-Fi box.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, that's basically our plug-in and go solution for connectivity anywhere around the world, which race teams pick with them, or they can rent it as well.
Okay, cool. So that's obviously pretty famously known for that as well. So, talk us through why you're different from your rivals.
Yeah, I mean, well, as I said, sort of the Tag Wi-Fi box really enabled us to enter the market with a specific product. But actually, very much the core of our company is more on the mobile phone connections. And this is where we really stand out actually from our competitors from this model. To give you an example, without name dropping too much, High Tech GP came on board as a Tag Wi-Fi customer. They've been very impressed with our range of services, which we're obviously happy to hear. So now we look after their mobile phones as well. So we've realized there's, a lot more elements than just one or the other. We can really support teams or companies, from both sort of aspects. In terms of our USPs, I think the main element is our flexibility. Like, what we can offer is pretty unrivaled if you go direct to the networks. There's no sort of one size fits all approach. It's very, very tailored specifically for a company's needs.
Yeah.
So in order for us to kind of analyze and see what the best needs are, we would profile a company. So let's say we're looking at MSD, we'd say, right, guys, how many users are there? What's your itinerary like for the year? Where will you be traveling? What devices do you use? How much data do you need, etc.? So, quite standard stuff, but from that, we can really build an idea of exactly what your requirements are.
Yeah.
That enables us to put forward a personalized cost-saving proposal, which, it's been really, really quite effective for a lot of companies. And another thing we offer, which I know the major networks try and steer against, but our whole ethos is flexibility. So whilst they like to lock you in maybe for a 24-month contract, we really like companies to sort of come and go as they please when they've got new starters joining, etc. So we offer all of our plans on a 30-day rolling basis, which, I'm sure you can imagine is pretty effective for people.
Yeah.
Another difference between us, so let's say wherever you might be in London and you only get signal with O2, but the other Ben, or wherever he might be in Exeter, let's say he needs Vodafone. Traditionally under the network, you only have one option. But because we work with all the networks, we can offer multiple networks under one bill, under one invoice per month. So again, that's pretty effective. And once you are a customer of ours, it's not a case of, oh great, you signed up, we'll leave you now. We very much do like to work with you on a regular basis. So we'll actually analyze your data and provide a quarterly audit. So we can see, every few months, right, we've seen you spent too much money here. How can we adjust that and continue to look at cost saving activities? So yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
Flexibility, I guess, is what sets us aside.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess, looking at it with the significant savings on mobile phone contracts, how can you be cheaper than what the network providers, put out already? How's that work?
Good question. A lot of people are quite confused by that. Because we basically buy in at quite a high level wholesale, we get discount because we buy bulk minutes and bulk data. So in essence, that enables us to be able to share that with our clients. So that's the major reason where we get our discounts from. We know that companies, as I said earlier, the major cost saving can be in roaming and international calling. So we would really assess where you're traveling, and we put forward specific country bolt-ons, for example. We can add them on, take them off as you please. It's not something you'll pay for every month if you're not using. And that we've seen huge discounts from that mentality. Another thing we like to offer clients is actually a shared data pool. So we all know that if you go, your overage, if you spend over your data allowance per month, that can really rack up big charges. But we like to offer a pool. So one user might use a lot one month, another not a lot at all. And that way it's all shared. And that's a good way to get around going over per user.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I can imagine a lot of teams would be certainly interested after hearing that, because that certainly is a financial saving is the one thing, and obviously the flexibility, as you say. So when you first
people being told off individually, like, oh, you've done 20 this month, but you've only done one. So yeah, it's a bit more discreet.
Exactly. So when you talk to a lot of these teams, I guess your first experience of that was the Spa 24-hour. What was that like?
Oh God, it's amazing. First word that springs to mind is loud. I mean, as anyone can probably remember their first race, like I've seen the pictures and videos, I didn't really know what to expect in real life, and it was really impressive. I was kind of sucked in from that moment. Obviously the energy, meeting all the teams, being like in the pits with them, just a whole new level and a whole new understanding. And for me personally, it was very educational. I got to see the tag Wi-Fi boxes in action. I got to put faces to names, continue to network. So yeah, it was wicked. Oh, and also I very much enjoyed the cold Belgian beer at the end of the day. That was obviously a favorite plus.
That's good for everybody. Okay, so you guys are going to be exhibiting at Motorsport Days Live in November, which is about 6 or 7 months away. What products are you looking to bring and to showcase to everybody?
So it's our third year, which thank you for having us again. We're really excited to come. So we'll have our tag Wi-Fi box to showcase, and we'll be doing live demos for anyone that wants to see that in action. Darren, the director, that's more his side, so he'll be more than happy to walk you through that. One thing to note as well, it's not just specific to the motorsport industry. We've found a lot of clients within the event industry are using this box as well for hospitality lounges, etc. So yeah, it's got a lot of multi-purpose elements to it. But I'll be there as well talking about the connection side. So if anyone wants to pop by, more than happy to have a nice chat.
Great stuff. So is that what are you kind of looking to gain then from the event? Is it to contact new teams, and I guess everybody is almost on your criteria?
Yeah, very much. I mean, the key element to it is we want to raise our profile, essentially. We want to be seen as the go-to for a telecoms provider. It's brand awareness, continue to liaise with our current clients. And of course, we all want new business. So it's meeting new teams, new companies. But yeah, it's also, I think it's really important to educate yourself, be part of your seminars, keep abreast of industry changes and really sort of mix with the key people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Well, look, thank you very much.
To track with obviously the social distancing. I know you've got some measures in place, haven't you?
Yeah, we certainly have. There's quite a few things. Did a short interview with My Supercar last week, and just talked about we're being very conscious of both the exhibitor and the visitors, how they can continue networking but also stay safe. So there's quite a few announcements we'll have in order to do our bit on that side. But yeah, look, really appreciate your time. So I guess that any race team or anybody who wants to contact you before the event, then is there go straight to the website, I guess, to contact you.
Absolutely. Oh, we are getting questions at the moment about 5G as well.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So I mean that seems to be a bit of a minefield, but something that's pretty big at helping the internet connectivity then.
Yeah, massively. I mean, it's very technical. It's very hard to kind of give an overview. I actually asked our technical director today. I was like, I feel like people are asking this of us a lot. Can you walk me through or give me some ideas? So he doesn't think it will have a massive effect on cellular speeds around the track anytime soon. He thinks maybe within a few years. 5G at lower frequencies will still have the same issues as 4G in that the local infrastructure will become overloaded on race day, as we've all seen at any event, festival, whatever it might be. For general connectivity for spectators and engineers, improved Wi-Fi will still be the best option for quite a while to come. He does think, though, that there are some specialist areas where 5G may provide functionality increases much sooner than full 5G being, deployed on a widespread fashion. So currently, most of these are focused on improving in-vehicle connectivity. So it could be a better service for telemetry upload or, live video streaming from within the car, which we all know is absolutely paramount. However, again, it really depends on the track and whether they've deployed small 5G cells around that. So it's all, there's a lot of elements to it to consider. But yeah, we'll keep everyone posted as we know more and as that technology evolves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's especially with people like VBox who have created the new in-car footage so people can do live telemetry and learn much more than having to ask the driver many times, and seeing that come from Formula One down into more the amateur side of things is pretty big. And again, it's all about that connectivity and information, which is so key to these teams.
Yeah,
good stuff. All right. Well, look, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and filling us in on that. So if anyone does want to contact you, as I say, I guess they can go over to your website and find out more information. And we'll put a link at the end of this video as well. But thank you very much for your time, Susie. I'm sure. No worries. I'm sure I'll see you soon. And thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you.